Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch with my beautiful co-host Veronique Arsenault. Hello.
Hello, hello. We're missing our darling Judy today.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, she had some things that she had to take care of today, so she's not with us.
No, that's right. No, and we wish her all the best with
Yes.
everything she's got to get
she'll
done.
be back next week.
Yep, not a problem. We have a great show lined up for you today. So a couple of really great guests, a lot of interesting topics that we're going to be talking about. But first, we're going to start off our show like we always do with a positive thought of the day or of the week or the month, however you want to look at it, whatever you need it for. Exactly, that's just it. So it's my turn. It was to come up with something, and I came across this one that was titled "Don't Quit."
Yes.
So I thought this was very, very good, and it could be for any situation that you're going through right now.
Agreed.
I thought they were definitely words to encourage people. So I just wanted to read this out. It's a little poem. Supposedly it rhymes, but I'm not going to say that I'm going to make it sound like it does. So the name of this poem is called Don't Quit. So when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill,
All of it.
when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when all is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but just don't quit. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint on the clouds of doubt. And you can never tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit, because it's when things go wrong that you must not quit.
I love it.
It is.
I love
really
it. Yeah.
good.
You know, funny enough, I remember when I was a small child, so I was 4 or 5. We were living in Montreal because Dad was in the military.
Right.
And we had a bath towel with that quote on it.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I remember it from my, like I said, I was a small child. I was like 4 or 5.
Oh,
and I remember it was in
kidding.
our bathroom hanging.
Yes.
And you know, I was just learning to read then and everything, but I remember that being in our bathroom, and it's always stuck with me. When you picked it this morning, I thought, oh, there you go. I love that one. But yeah, it's a fantastic
for my kids,
quote.
I always found that anytime they wanted, because with the 4 kids, they'd want to join something or start something, whether it's sports, whether it's piano, dance, whatever it was, I always taught them that they weren't allowed to quit, that they at least had to finish what they started.
Right.
If they didn't want to join again the next year or whatever it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to persevere. It would only make them a better, a more rounded person after the fact, is the way I looked at that.
Yeah, agreed.
And teach them coping skills with the stresses or whatever it is that was happening at the time that made them feel like they wanted to quit.
Yep.
To overcome those things.
Well, it's often hard when you're taking a look and you think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there. Like it's so far away. But there's this meme on Facebook, and it's this there's 2 people digging a tunnel. It's a cartoon.
Okay.
And there's 2 people digging a tunnel, and you know, they're like this far away from the end of the tunnel, and there's all of these, you know, diamonds and everything. Right. And one guy just turns around and goes, and the other guy, like it's literally like centimeters.
But they don't know that.
But they don't know that because like they've been digging forever. Right?
Okay.
And they're just about there, and then the other guy is still digging. So you just never know what's around the corner. And it's sometimes hard to remember that because things seem really
when you're in
tough.
When you're right in it, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Very
for
much
sure.
Very much so.
Just remember that to our viewers. Don't quit.
Great quote. Great positive thought of the day.
We had a top of the morning or afternoon. We had an amazing weekend here in Miramichi and all of Canada, actually, because it was St. Paddy's Day on a Saturday.
Oh, my goodness.
And we had one of the biggest dances here in Miramichi. It was a big turnout. It was sold out. They actually ended up having to sell an extra 100 tickets, which went in like 7 minutes. It was like a Bruce Springsteen concert.
I know.
Here. The way the tickets went.
They were a huck money. You could buy them. There was
were.
somebody selling them online on Kijiji for $100.
Yeah,
$100.
There was.
Anyway, but you know what? It was a fantastic night. The Rotary Club of Chatham, did a wonderful job, and it was a fundraiser for the Rotary Club.
Right.
And you know what? People really they embraced it. They had a great time.
They really did.
But there was so much going
on. Exactly.
Like there was so much going on around the river, and
so much food.
Well, corned beef and cabbage, right? Corned beef and cabbage. So the Legion branch number 3 every year does corned beef and cabbage. They do it for St. Patrick's Day, obviously, and for the Irish Festival, so twice a year. Right. And then there was, Capers had something going on. O'Donoghue's, of course, our Irish pubs here in Miramichi.
Jack's Oasis put their corned beef and
Yes.
cabbage, and theirs went to the Autism Resource Centre.
Wonderful.
So,
And
yeah.
Mike's Bar and Grill had something going on. Like, there really was,
Irish music
if you
all
wanted
day.
to do something.
If you wanted to start at noon on
Yes.
Saturday.
Well, actually,
you could.
I think
Or even
O'Donn's
before that.
opened at like 8 or 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was something to do everywhere. There was no reason to stay home if you didn't want to.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just it.
But there was another news station that ran a story about proclaiming us the Irish capital of Canada.
Miramichi, Irish capital.
We know it.
Yes, we obviously
We know it.
know it.
But it's on our tower, of course. But
Yeah.
there was a piece that ran on the weekend, and there was some of the Legion was in there, and
Right.
some of the
Some
festivities.
of the best corned beef, you said.
Yes, and of course, our MP Pat Finnegan declared us, and so of course it's true.
That's right.
And we forgot to mention the Nelson Doyle Dancer concert on
That
Saturday
went
night.
on in Nelson.
Yeah.
I guess it was huge success
Yeah.
over there as well. I had
Yeah.
listened to a local radio station this morning that there was a fella who actually he's originally from Ireland, and he lives in St. John, and he was actually sort of astonished what a big deal that we make of it here in Canada, because it's not like that in Ireland.
No, I don't think it's a real exciting.
Decorations go up that morning, and they're
yeah.
down that night.
Yeah, no, they started like about a week and a half ago.
Yes. Yeah,
but
we
it's,
did.
you know what?
We did.
It's we love to celebrate our heritage
We
here.
do. We
And
do. It means a lot to us.
Yeah,
It means-
and our culture is, we have so many wonderful cultures here, and we get to celebrate all of them. And
That's
that's the thing I
right.
love most about living here,
I
is that
know.
there is a festival. We talk about festivals all summer, but there is a festival to celebrate, all
No
of
matter
our
where
cultures.
you came from.
Yeah, and I
Doesn't
love
matter
that.
how you got here or where you came from.
Yeah, so I think it's really it's one of our perks.
It is.
I love
it.
it.
Is. We love Miramichi.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what's coming up around the corner is Easter.
I know.
Easter's coming.
I love
Spring,
Easter.
God willing. Spring is around the corner as well.
It doesn't
Though the
feel like
weather
it.
doesn't show it this week.
No,
But-
it doesn't feel like it today. It's like -20 or something.
No, and Easter falls on the weekend, and it's my birthday weekend.
Oh, is it really?
It actually falls on Easter Sunday this year for
Nice.
anyone who's still shopping for me or anything else like that. So that's coming up around the corner.
You know
And
what? Easter is actually one of my favorite holidays.
for me, in the hairdressing business, believe it or not, in that industry, it's almost like Christmas. It's so close to being
Retail.
crazy busy for retail and making sure that the Easter Bunny doesn't see your roots.
Right.
Or, needing that haircut.
But you know what it was for me,
it's-
though, working retail all of those years that I did, is that Easter was the one time I had 4 days off in a row.
True.
Because even in retail, even in Ottawa, because when I worked in Ottawa, I worked for the Hudson's Bay Company, so I worked at their flagship
Right,
store in the
right.
Rideau Centre, and the Rideau Centre was designated as a tourism spot, so a tourism attraction.
Right.
And so we were open 363 days a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so we closed Christmas Day, but we were open Christmas Eve until 6, and then we opened at 6 a.m. on the 26th. And so I was always closing and opening manager
Right.
that time because I didn't have kids. And then, so Easter, though, we were closed Good Friday and we were closed Easter Sunday. And then I always took my day off as Easter
that.
Monday. So I always had 4 days off in a row. So for me, that was like, it was better than Christmas.
Yeah.
because
You
I
could
had
actually
time
plan
off.
something.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
time off with my family, and we always made Easter a big deal in our family because of
yeah.
that.
Yes,
yeah, so
exactly.
and it stayed that way for me. I love Easter.
No, that's just it. There's just way too much chocolate floating around for me at this time.
Well, yeah, there's that. But you know what? I remember my last Easter egg hunt I went on. Dad was living in Goose Bay, Labrador,
Okay.
and I was 19 years old.
Oh, really?
He hid eggs for me.
At 19 years old?
I loved it.
Oh, you're kidding.
Loved it. We had such a
Oh,
great
that's
time.
fabulous. I
Yeah.
never ever hid eggs around my house because we had animals.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want to wake up to find out that
Yes.
they were all gone.
They
and
had
the
eaten
cat
them.
and the- yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, and the Easter Bunny used to visit our house too, but that last year the bunny was busy and he didn't come up to Goose Bay, Labrador
Oh, cool.
that winter, and Dad did it for me.
Oh, for goodness
Yeah.
sakes. No,
Yeah.
I used to go all out. All the things that when I think of everything that I used to do, the elaborate, like taking baby powder and cotton balls and making little bunny prints through the house and everything for the
Well,
children.
because the bunny's so busy, right? The Easter Bunny is so busy, so you don't,
Needs help.
you gotta,
Needs
you
help.
gotta help a little bit, right? So
Yeah.
you gotta make sure that
That's
you know,
right.
yeah.
So now tell me a little bit about the Paralympics are coming.
No, they just finished.
Or they just finished.
Yeah,
okay,
they just
that's
finished.
What it was.
Yeah, and so Canada ranked second overall in medals.
Wow.
Yeah, second overall. So the U.S. had 36 medals, so 13 gold, 15 silver, and 8 bronze.
Nice.
Canada ranked second overall with 28 medals, but they ranked third with 8 gold medals, 4 silver, and 16 bronze.
We are right up there.
Fantastic.
We really
are.
are.
And I got to watch some of it. There was some really incredible stories, and the athletes are so gifted. Like their strength and the perseverance and everything that they go through.
It must be just so.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like truly incredible. So I'm not a huge Olympic fan anyway, but I do tend to watch both the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games because I find them fascinating.
Yeah, I do too. Well, the drive that it takes to do what they do.
Yeah.
Just astounds me. It really does.
Well, really, I mean, it's it's years of dedication.
It is,
right? It's years of dedication.
They're never off. It's always prepreparation for the next.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's
ongoing
pretty
investigation still, or is this a new one?
Well,
you sort of brought up. What's going on now?
So
Trump.
So yeah, so
we're talking.
Funny
about,
enough.
In case you weren't sure.
So a while ago, the FBI director, James Comey, was fired, right?
Right.
So anyway, and so he's just recently, there was a tweet I think it was over the weekend, and he said, people will know who actually is telling the truth or not.
Soon?
Yeah,
people
soon.
will know? Oh,
yeah,
soon he's referring to
soon.
Okay.
And then there was the FBI director, our special investigator, Mueller. Sorry, it took me a minute there. Like he's, there's indictments happening, and there's so much happening right now with the probe into Russian interference in the election in 2016,
right.
And now actually the latest report is that the investigation is kind of looking at President Trump's business dealings, like his actual business dealings.
His actual,
not just the campaign itself. So, there's a lot going on, and there was some really bad press over the weekend because President Trump fired a gentleman who was, I believe, the secret chief of staff.
Mm-hmm.
He was retiring on Friday, and he fired him like right before.
Andrew McCabe?
He fired him like literally right before, so like within hours of when he was retiring, and so he doesn't get pension for his 20 years of service.
Oh my land.
So it's just stuff like that. I'm like, where is this coming from? But it's it all makes for fascinating reading.
It does.
And CNN is going to have and all of the news outlets really are going to have material for decades to come. I think.
No, exactly. That's just it. I mean, even when someday that he's not in office, which God willing, that won't be the next time around. They'll still be talking.
Well, it's just, it's hard to understand sometimes how we got to this point where, we've had politicians for years that have done, things of, maybe some questionable
mm-hmm.
nature, and you look back at history and some of them were so vilified. And I find it fascinating almost that it seems that no matter what the current president does, there doesn't seem to be any ramifications.
No, exactly. Unlike if it was somebody else.
Well, like Nixon, he was impeached, right? So it's I just find it really fascinating. Actually, that's at this time in our world where we have such quick access to so much information,
mm-hmm.
And not all of it true. Let's be honest. I mean, there's a lot of
there's a lot of fake news.
Yeah, there's stuff everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But not all of it's true.
Yeah.
But that we have such instant access to information, and we're in this day and age, and still, it doesn't matter what he does.
No,
it just keeps going.
No, exactly. That's just it. I don't quite understand where the U.S. citizens are coming from. That.
Well, and I mean, it's democratic. Even. They get to, they voted him in. So I mean, that it happened democratically. He was
right.
I mean, we're assuming, but so we don't get to unfortunately have a say in that. But it's astounding to me.
No, exactly. Well, what do you think the ramifications though are as that trickles over into Canada with our Prime Minister?
Well, I mean, we see a lot of we're about to see some of that not questionable, but the impact that that's been happening in Canada
for us.
So there's been so much negotiations and a lot of, so many meetings, particularly for New Brunswick, because of the tariff now on softwood being exported, right? Like
That's
at 21% is huge, right? And so and then there are others coming, like when NAFTA was negotiated and they're talking about renegotiating, the tariffs coming towards Canada are not great. Like they're impacting us economically. And so that's the tough part, So we'll see what comes from it, but
no, there
are global
more
ramifications to what's going on in the U.S. and the trade partners, but it also forces our country to look at other trade partners and exploring other routes like China and things like that. So who knows? I mean, it could in the long run could be for the best, but it's hard to say.
No, that's just it. I find with a trip that I have coming up that we're going down south, we're taking a little vacation. There's actually, and last year we went to the same location, and there's a lot of U.S. citizens that vacation there as well. And just getting to meet people, and I never ever want to bring it up, right? But I find they do. They do, and they want to talk about it, whether they're for or against, and they're very open with being very shocked themselves by how it's all going on and everything that's happening, and being disappointed with it all. But I don't know where they can go as far as rectifying that. Well, it seems like they're just going to let it run its course.
Well, they don't have
and
much
let
of
him
a
do
choice
whatever
at this point. But unless he is impeached on some grounds. But I think it truly does prove, though, that every vote counts.
It does.
I think it truly does prove that, because if half of those outraged people had gone out to vote, we would have had a different outcome.
I know.
And I'm not, I was a Hillary fan and still am, because I think she's done a phenomenal job in her life, dedicated to public service. But, who knows what she would have been like as a president. But I think, if people need to realize that their vote does count, and whomever you support, whomever you support, you need to get out and vote. But what I find even more fascinating is last week they had the march for the young people walked out of school.
Oh, yes, that's
for gun safety. Yeah. And that was a phenomenal cohesive voice, as they walked out of schools. And and I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook where people saying, well, you should just really go hug the people that are outcasts, and that is definitely one piece of it. We need to take better care of our fellow humans, but there needs to be some concrete steps to gun safety. Doesn't need to be control. Control seems to be the word that sends people off. But
perfect, exactly.
We need to change.
I know, definitely. We've got more Have a Chat coming up right after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Have a Chat. Up next, we have a couple of great guests joining us now. A familiar face, Chad Duplessis, and a new face, Erica Ward. Hello.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for joining us today. You're here to talk to us about something that is here on the Miramichi that some of our viewers might not know is actually happening, which is along the lines of a community food center, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You can actually call it by its actual name, because I'm going to leave that up to her.
Yeah, Audrey always has challenges when it comes to words that she's unfamiliar with. So the Natoaganeg Community Food Centre has been in existence for a little while, but tell us, I guess, first introduce yourselves to all of our viewers so that they know who you are, and then we'll talk about how this all came to be and how exciting it is for our region. So Chad, we'll start with you.
Certainly. So Chad Duplessis, and so I'm my 9 to 5 is up in the Overground, managing the Natoaganeg Community Food Centre. That project, the community, through the leadership of the Chief and Council, really started looking at it closely about 11 years ago. Started with a breakfast program, and then started making these incremental little changes to programming. More funding came along, new partners came along, and now the community runs a community food center, which we'll get into kind of the detail and the flavor of that in a little bit. But what we're striving to do is address the issues of food security in the most pleasurable and dignified way possible.
And it's something that's a challenge for our region as a whole.
Absolutely.
You know, we have a significant number of families that are using our community food bank here in the city, and I'm sure that number continues to grow in our just outside the city limits and into our First Nations communities as well. So, you know, food safety is it's such a thing that we don't talk about, right? It's kind of on that periphery, but it's something that's so fundamental to our well-being that we need to do a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Exactly. And Erica, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Erica. I'm from Eel Ground First Nation. I'm Mi'kmaq. I'm the program coordinator for the Natoaganeg Community Food Centre. We also go by Natoaganeg Bistamunay-Gemk. So
what does that second piece mean?
Bistamunay-Gemk. Yeah. So this is a word that we reached out to our elders in the community, and we said, what would signify a community food center in our language? And this was the word that came back to us, was Bistamunay-Gemk. So in simpler terms, all it means is the place to get food, but just enough, never more than what you need. So this really holds true to our philosophy all around. Right. And so
fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long have you guys been in operation now?
So the food center, our grand opening was October of last year.
Okay.
But we've been running that type of programming, so cooking classes, working with the school, doing the cafeteria, gardening, all that kind of stuff. The food bank was in operation for years previous. But the kind of bringing it all together, bringing it under one brand.
Because this is way more than just supplying people with food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It goes beyond that.
So I can talk a little bit about our philosophy. So we follow three main philosophies. So that is healthy food access, healthy food education, and healthy food skills. So all of our programming will fall under one of those. So healthy food access is our good food market, our food bank distribution, where we cut products with high sodium. We don't distribute those items. We have traditional food access is something also that's really important to us. So at the food center, we have the ability to hand out moose meat to our community members, which is excellent, but also give them the food skills to prepare that meat in the correct way.
Right, because I mean that's the piece that would be typically missing for all of us, right? Is that okay? So if you give me the food, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
You know, and how do I make sure that I'm getting all I can out of that?
And there was a gap in that, right? So that's kind of where the food center stepped in and was able to give people those food skills and the education.
Because I realized that just from having 4 children myself, and they're getting older, and I'm going to send them out on their own, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, they don't know how to, besides making a peanut butter and jam sandwich, I'm like, I'm actually going, okay, watch me for a minute. This is how I do this. Or even just the simple thing of using a cutting board and cutting raw meat on a board and then cross-contamination. Yes. If I don't show them that, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So, am I teaching them all the skills they're going to need themselves when they're out in the real world?
Yeah.
And I think in today's day and age too, the adage of it takes a community to raise a child.
That's right.
It takes a community to feed a child a decent meal consistently. And that's something, if we can kind of take this a little bit shift out of Eel Ground, something that we don't really talk about enough, I don't think, is the amount of community-run cafeterias in the greater region. That's a real story. So I think there's the one in King Street, Max Aiken, Gretna Green, Carrefour Beausoleil, all are running community-run and including that Eel Ground, community-run cafeterias. So that's not Chartwell's, that's not the big corporation. No. These are parents, volunteers, chefs that have the interest of their kids at heart. That's a unique thing for the country.
And particularly because I follow King Street Elementary on their Facebook page and their food services, and it's a real focus on healthy meals. Yeah. You know, and
Well, today's parents are so busy. Like,
Well,
I'm
but I
working,
remember,
to be
like-
able to show them
Yeah.
everything that I'm doing. It's just quicker for me to either, if I haven't picked it up from takeout, to quickly just throw something together myself and not take the time to show them. Like,
But I
this
remember
is great that these
even as a child, like the food, food in our school cafeteria was fries, hot dogs,
yes.
and
Yes.
It was a dinner plate of poutine.
it was.
Yes, like it was. I remember I ate hot dogs every day for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was my, was my thing.
Yeah.
I loved hot dogs.
And
but
we never thought anything about it.
no, but I mean
then.
now, we see, our kids, and we need that fuel to get through our day. So the focus on healthier eating in the school cafeteria is fantastic.
And again, remember, the need is there, right? And it can cross back to yoga, and the need is there too. Childhood obesity rates are pretty big. Again, like a national high. So, and in yoga, that's no different. The one thing that's different about the cafeteria in yoga is the food is prepared by the community, by community members, scratch made, healthy, all that kind of stuff. But it's free and universal. So any student that goes to the school has breakfast and lunch and a whole food snack.
Isn't that amazing?
Day in and day out. And for me, that's a big deal because I remember you're talking about being in school, being able to identify the kids that didn't have money
Yes.
because of the food they brought to school.
That's right.
And then if you just create a universal playing field, it's just one less identifier, one less stigma,
That's
just
right.
to going to school, right? With kids got enough to deal with that.
Erica, you told a story off camera of this young child that
12-year-old?
that lives in your community.
Yeah.
Can you tell, like that
Yes,
it
so-
gave me I got all misty.
It's a really great story. So we run one of our programs is the Youth Champions program. So we go into the school and we'll bring the students who are interested in healthy food or working with food, which is the majority of them. I don't think anybody says no. So what we do is we bring them to the food center with us, and we are showing them food skills, but also traditional food skills. So showing them, how to prepare that salmon or moose. But one of our youth champions, his name's BL, and I just wasn't sure if I could say his name on TV, but I don't think he minds.
Whatever.
So his story is really great. So his father is a community hunter who harvests the moose for us, and that's where we distribute and we cook and prepare with that moose. So BL took down his first moose this year with his father, and they brought it, and BL butchered it, and then he brought it back to the food center, prepared it with his peers, and served it to the community. So that story,
Full circle.
yes, full circle, and it was really amazing. Like all of the other students really, I want to take part. I want to try that. I want to do it. And then to watch BL showing them how to cut the moose and stuff like that.
Well, it must have been such a moment of pride for him.
Yeah.
To be able to provide for his community, right?
Yeah.
Like it's it's
Right
that,
from the very, not just cook it, but right from
Right.
where it starts.
Yeah.
but
Right.
but also keeping those traditional skills alive in
That's
your
right.
community.
Yeah.
As a youngster at 12.
Yeah, and I think that's key in the food center's philosophy is going back to those traditional foods and distributing, not just distributing, but showing people the skills how to harvest. There's so many edible plants right outside of our building that we garnish with, and a lot of people don't know that. And there was one that tastes like lemon, and it shocked me because I was like, wow, what, and
Where is this coming from?
Yeah, exactly. But just having those skills and knowing those things, that really goes a long way. And the community really wants to learn more. So this is the space, right, to do it. So
Amazing.
yeah.
It's interesting too because it often people say, oh, what a progressive idea, and it is because it's not being done everywhere to address this issue. So it's a progressive solution now for that, but it's in the Mi'kmaq tradition and heritage. It's so deep that it's as simple as the community hunters harvesting an animal, bringing it back, butchering it, putting it on a hot element. It gets cooked and it's being handed over to the community.
Right.
It's incredibly simple.
Well, we're going to get you to talk a little bit about the fact that you had mentioned there's no cost for the breakfast or the lunch.
Yeah.
So this obviously costs somewhere, and so you're in charge of the fundraising ideas and things that happen there. So tell us a little bit about that.
So Yogrun First Nation about 11 years ago went into partnership with Canadian Feed the Children.
Okay.
So Canadian Feed the Children at that time was an international development agent. So they worked in Ghana, they worked in Bolivia, but they would work internationally. They started looking domestically, and 11 years ago they wanted to respond to the food insecurity rates in First Nation communities, and the grant had gotten written. It was a small grant of like a few $1,000s to do Cheese Whiz and toast and yogurt for a breakfast program. That evolved. At some point, Canadian Feed the Children invested kind of deeper into the solution, and that's where we started doing programming. That's where the cafeteria model took on a lunch. The school, the band built a new school that had a cafeteria in it. So these partnerships kind of evolved in synergy, and now we just brought on a new partner, Community Food Centres Canada. So we are a community food center in partnership with Community Food Centres Canada. So this is an organization out of Toronto that started kind of the same kind of story. They started a food bank. The CEO of Community Food Centres Canada, Nick Saul, didn't like doing food bank work, didn't see it as a solution, and then they evolved what was called the Stop into something just bigger, more, with a real focus on good food, not Mr. Noodles and this kind of thing. And I understand it's a necessity in some situations, but putting the effort into the fundraising and the back end, and putting a priority to serving high quality food, good food, and then that was super successful in Aotearoa Toronto. They've leveled that up, and now there's 12 community food centers in Canada.
And you're the smallest, though.
We are the smallest. I think the next encatchment is probably around 18,000. We have an encatchment of 600.
Yeah.
So we're a micro community food center. We're the only First Nation community food center in Canada, and the only partner community food center in New Brunswick. So, but comes with that is growth and the expectation that you need to kind of hit your targets and do your programming and.
But we have seen some progress over the last couple of years. You know, even in the region as a whole, Big Brothers Big Sisters, you know, has agreed to fund all of the breakfast programs across the school district, which I think, you know, spoke to what you talked about, Chad, with not being, and it's open to every child in the school system. It's not, you know, it's not identifiable to a child that can't afford to eat. It's anybody can go in and have breakfast, which I think, you know, that's how you start your day. I know if I don't have my breakfast in the morning, I'm struggling to get through my morning, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it changes your mood. It changes everything.
Yeah, and I mean, most days my brain's functional the way I want it to be. So you know, as a child not having that food security, it's amazing though that we are making some strides, and this is just one more stride that we're making in the region, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
So touch a little bit now. You had mentioned one of the programs.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you're in charge of programming.
Yeah. So
what would be some of the others?
I'll kind of touch base on. Okay. So obviously our food bank distribution.
Because there's a drop-in center too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're one facility, but obviously we have separate spaces. We have our food bank distribution happens in our basement. It's a wide open space. Our members have the ability to have a grocery shopping experience, I guess. So there's nobody on the other side of the counter handing over items. Our members have the choice to come in, choose what they need, what they want, and there's a selection. Going back to our name, Bistamune Gemk, the place to get food, but never more than what you need. Right. This is something that is really has shown, you know, what we really are about. Members respect it. They respect the place. They own it, basically, so they take care of it, right? So it's really great to see that evolution of starting out the food bank. It was like they would be handed hampers of food with no choice, no options. So now they'll go around the space, choose the items that they want, and then they can go upstairs to our another program, our Good Food Market. So that's upstairs. So we sell fresh produce at cost. There's no upsell or anything like that. Each member has a $5 coupon to go upstairs and fill their bags. So literally they're walking out with like 2 grocery bags of fresh produce.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're spending that extra $5 to get, you know, the rest, or, you know, the things
putting
that
it towards the things they need.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. So so there's that program. The Good Food Market is open to all community members at all times, so they're able to come in and choose what they want as well. And so we have the Good Food Market, and then we also have our community gardens. So we have one community garden.
Well, we're actually going to take a short little break.
Okay,
We'll get back to the garden.
I should keep
Yep.
going.
We still
Okay,
have
great.
lots and lots that we do
Yeah.
want to talk about. I do, just before we go to break, I will mention to our viewers, if you're looking to get any information on anything that they're talking about, you guys have a Facebook page, correct?
Yes.
That you can follow and get all the information that you're looking for as far as this community food
And we'll be
center.
sharing it as well.
And we'll be sharing it on our page. So, so we've got lots more to talk about. I'm pretty sure we're getting ready to go to a break really soon. I'm waiting to hear. But don't go away. We've got more Have a Chat coming up after the break. Welcome back to Have a Chat. We've been having a great show talking to Chad and Erica about a great community program that's happening right here in our own community of Eel Ground. So we were chatting a little bit about the Community Food Centre, and I'll get you to say the name of it.
Natoaganeg Community.
Yes.
It's going to take me a while to get that second part.
Yeah.
No.
I still don't know.
Yeah, it's going to take me a little while to get that. I'm okay with the first part, but it's going to take me a little while. I learn something new every day. So, that's,
Yeah,
so I'm
just
learning that
it
one
gets
today.
easier because I struggle
Does
with
it?
it as well.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So just before we went to break, you had brought up another program, the Community Garden.
Yeah, so
So.
we have 3 community gardens in Eel Ground.
Oh, wow.
We have one obviously outside the food center, so this is kind of like we grow a little bit of everything there. Volunteers, students, elders, they will plant the seeds and, come in, drop in and help out with the garden. We also have our potato garden, which is located kind of across the street from the school. So this garden is completely filled with potatoes. When they're ready to be harvested, we actually went in and had the students come out, and they were split up into 4 teams. The parents weren't happy with us that day, but they had fun. So
was there a little dirt involved?
Yes, so literally there was a blowhorn. On your mark, get set, go.
Oh,
Who
and-
harvested the most potatoes won.
In 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes.
Oh, 10
minutes,
It was
yeah.
the garden was empty. So I
Really,
still
eh?
so I still have those the potatoes. So I hand those out in food bank during food bank distribution, or we'll cook with them. So there was an abundance of them. And then we also have our community the garden at the school. Yes. Yeah, so the kids will also
So they're
go there and harvest.
learning all about the
Yeah,
growing
yeah.
part of things as well.
Yeah,
Which most of us have no idea.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
No.
So we-
Everything grows at the supermarket. No.
Yes.
Yeah. We actually just purchased 4 garden towers. So this is similar to a hydroponic system.
Okay.
So we have 4 of them. One is at the food center right now. We're getting familiar with it and
Right.
kind of learning new things about it. The other 3 will be placed in the schools. So 2 will be used they're going to be in the classroom. So there's going to be curriculum around.
That's just it. Because
how
we're
to-
coming into the season, God willing,
Yeah.
that you would be prepping for all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And but with a garden tower, you have the ability to grow anything year long.
Really?
Yeah,
fantastic.
so it's
Nice.
literally inside.
Okay.
there's a curriculum to learn how to germinate these seeds and then plant them in the pods and things like that. So we'll go into the school, and then the other garden tower will be in the school cafeteria. So it'll create, they're growing their own food. It's right there, right? So that connection with the children, it's really important. So
Was
That
there
sounds
a
like a
huge
great
learning
program.
curve for you for all of this, though? Like,
absolutely. So I
I
never,
couldn't tell you how to
no.
grow anything.
No, and I like to garden, but not obviously food.
You weren't,
I guess
you weren't growing your own food
I
every
was
day.
planting flowers in my yard or
exactly.
whatever. So it was definitely a learning curve for me. Absolutely, I never worked in food security before, but it's moving so quickly and it's great. Like, I'm on board, and it's
awesome.
yeah. One other program that we have is our drop-in meal program. So this is probably one of our biggest programs. We get so much engagement from everybody in the community. So volunteers will come in and prepare meals, but then we also have like the community hunters who are donating these, whether it's salmon or moose or rabbit or partridge. So these are items that we've cooked all of this. So this is one of our main programs. We offer it twice weekly, so it's Wednesdays and Thursdays. So Wednesday we do a lunch. So we get a lot of the working folks in Eelgren who will drop in, and they're donating and covering all costs of the drop-in meal program.
Wow.
So that's really exciting. And then Thursday we have our traditional Thursdays. So we always try to do a meal that is traditional. So whether it's a moose roast with mashed potatoes and blueberries, or something along those lines. So yeah, that's really
Is part of the thought process behind all of this twofold? One, making sure that people have the food security they need, but two, keeping those traditions alive in your community, like things that, that may have started to fall away.
Well, when you really look at it on a bigger spectrum, it's part of reconciliation, right? We are regaining those tools to cook our traditional meals, and we're really trying hard to show the entire community like these skills and how to harvest whether it's blueberries, strawberries, those things. So
there must be a lot of
really
pride
important.
involved in that.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Is it the elders that would have that knowledge of the traditional way that things are done? You're relying on a lot of them to
for the most
share that information?
part, but really, it's really a community effort. Like, I can, just this morning I was speaking with somebody, and she was a young person, and she was teaching me different things that I didn't know. So it's really a community effort, which is, maybe this person learned this from their grandmother or their uncle or whatever it may be, right?
But it's that sharing amongst everyone.
Exactly. Like, and that's key in the food center, is that sharing, and it happens every single day, right? I'm constantly learning new skills. So yeah,
we touched earlier on the food champion,
youth champions.
That's it.
Yeah. So actually, Chad has worked with the youth champions a lot longer than I have, so I'll let him speak.
I remember
about
when that launch actually. I went to that launch with you.
Yeah, that's right. You guys covered it.
Yeah.
So the Youth Champions program, it started a few years back, and it was a strategy to really get the kids to eat healthy food, mainly the salad bar, because we had a salad bar, and so what we did, we targeted a group of kids, grade 6 kids, and we worked with them for 3 years as influencers. So we asked them the question, how do we make the salad bar cool? Right, so we knew it was healthy.
Which is a tough order.
Yeah,
because salad is not.
No,
awesome.
You don't make friends with salad.
No,
right? Homer Simpson kind of summarized it.
You're right, very much so.
But what happened is, once these kids were asked, "What do you want to do?" or "How do you want to do it?" The other kids started paying attention. Right, so you reinforce this group of influencers. We see Jay-Z's an influencer. So is BL. Yeah. So it's that same kind of social marketing strategy, but it worked. These kids went for 3 years. We see so in like national school food data, salad bar uptake is usually around like 20% of the student body, maybe 40% in good places, and we see probably 60 to 80% of the kids eat raw vegetables. Every day.
Kidding.
That's amazing.
I'm dying to know what some of their ideas were.
I know, because I have not made friends with salad.
How do I make a salad cool?
So one thing they did is, so we had a little bit of money, and we said, let's buy some swag. So they picked out the hats, they picked out the embroidering, they picked out the clothing. And my only thing is, like, on the back of the hat, it says "Eat Healthy," and I asked the principal like wear their hat for 2 days in the school. So taking healthy messaging, and they're the experts with what's cool and what's not cool. There's nothing more uncool of an adult
than you telling it,
what's cool.
Yeah.
So it worked. These kids now are in grade 9.
That's right.
They're at the high school at MVHS. They're paying attention to the food they're eating there. They want to see change there.
Good.
And they're becoming self-advocates for good food.
It's modeling that behavior that they want to see.
Yeah, so now we've reset the program. So now we work with the grade 6 kids again, and we'll let those kids follow them for 3 years, and then we'll reset the program again.
Is this a program that the kids themselves, like they join it or they don't join it, or it's just an automatic?
So initially we walked in and said, all of you guys are youth champions. The secret behind that is I had to write a report, and I didn't have a youth champions group mobilized. But I think the fact that we said it's all of you, we had kids that wouldn't know how to put their hand up.
Right.
That came in, and we're really the youth champions of the youth champions. And now, when we go in, we get kids to self-identify. So we'll make an announcement, say, can youth champions come to the office? We're going to, and if they think they're a youth champion, they ask their teacher if they can be excused, and they come for the meeting, right? So that self-identification is a big part of it.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you must well, you have seen a change if it's gone from 20 to 40 if you're to 60 to 80. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was right from day one for us because and the other thing we do is when we rolled it out, we only let the grade 8 kids have the salad. So every other kid in the school was sitting there being like, oh, I wish I had their salad. Right, because they're the coolest kids. They're at the top of the hill.
Yes.
So they're the only ones that are allowed to have salad. And then a month later, the grade 7s were allowed. A month later, the grade 6s were allowed. And now to this point, even the grade 3 kids aren't allowed to have the salad.
But it's a thing. It's like, well, I can't wait till
when I can have
it.
I have made more friends with salad lately. I have. I went from not having any salad to having a salad probably 3 or 4 days a week now.
Yeah.
I always put all those, because my husband's into fitness and we always had lots of vegetables, but I always found I'd put things on my plate that I didn't put on theirs. And they'd be like, how come you have that and I don't?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So then they'd want what was on my plate. But my biggest thing to add to a salad that got my kids to eat it, believe it or not, was it wasn't all just vegetables. I always turn around and took a nice big red juicy apple, cut it up into tiny little, and threw it in, that little bit of sweetness. And they were like, so now when I make a salad, if the apple's not in it.
You can make a good salad.
Exactly. That's just it. So that's fantastic. So there's cooking classes as well.
Yeah, so...
I'm afraid we're going to need another show.
Our program I could talk about forever. So we do community kitchens. Those first originally started at the school. So before I even worked for the food center, I actually partook in those with my son, who's 7 years old. So I was going to the school and cooking with him.
Oh, cool.
And so that started, he would have been 4, so about 3 years ago. Now that's evolved. Now we bring in a chef, and he will show, the meal start from finish. We did one meal where we made pasta from scratch. So literally like mixing the ingredients and
running it through the little mill to make the spaghetti.
And a lot of people didn't know how to do it, and it was so simple. It was like 3 ingredients.
That's right.
So to show that
and
from
how
start to
fresh,
finish.
what the difference is with eating something that's fresh.
Oh yes, big difference.
That's the thing about good food, right? Like good food's been like kind of owned by the culinary world. It's been something that like you go pay for.
No, they always would, they would never think to use not fresh food. They were trained and know the difference in taste and flavor simply for that one thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, so that's fantastic because cooking has become a lost art, right?
Yes.
Most of us don't cook. Typically,
no,
we buy prepackaged, we buy
things that are quick
takeout
and
or
easy.
whatever.
It's convenience.
Very much so. So that's amazing. So you said at the beginning of the show, it is free for your community.
Yes.
And anyone can drop in at any point.
And that's everyone. We're not in the business of turning people away. So if you're looking for lunch, and you want to visit, absolutely stop in.
Okay.
We're absolutely
And
100% not in the business.
check out our space.
That's a good one.
We love visitors. I mean, like,
Well, and I follow your
Yeah.
Facebook page, so I've often seen, like, I've never had moose myself.
Well,
but
that's
I've-
just it. Even if you wanted to try something
well, that's
different.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So
you know, because I thought,
Good
oh, that
idea.
looks really good, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I want to come and try that. But
we're known for our moose tacos.
Oh.
So we made
wow.
incredible
Ooh.
moose tacos. They were so delicious. Do you remember
I'm
that?
hungry now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually.
So that's something we have to cook again soon,
Yeah.
actually. But it's like using those traditional proteins and putting a spin on it to, you know, and then
To make it.
the community just loved it. Like, you know, who would have thought of
Because it
moose
took some
taco-
coax.
Yeah.
Like the first time we put moose in a meal,
Yeah.
there's a lot of folks that come in and are like, ooh, no thank you.
Yeah.
But as we started cooking with it more, and the fact that we have this moose, like protein's expensive.
Very.
So for
Oh
us,
my.
we only pay
Yes.
for the packaging cost. So
Right.
you know, we're paying about 25 cents a pound versus
Wow.
you know, a pound of beef is X amount of dollars, and you're getting like nice cuts and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what about quantity? Like, do you ever feel that this month we're going to run out, or there's not enough,
With
or
moose.
We just ran out of moose,
Yeah.
so if anyone's
Okay.
looking to get moose at the food center,
Yeah.
we just
we're
went through
talking
it.
about it and getting everybody
Yeah.
hyped
Yeah,
up,
you'll
but
have to wait.
we're all out.
But the seasonality of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
we have
Straight.
Wayne Ward, who's a fisherman.
So
he's
you
been bringing us
switch.
trout that he's been
Okay.
ice fishing.
wow.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah.
Wayne. And so then the salmon run will happen in June.
Right.
The bass is obviously running.
Okay.
So the seasonality of this makes sense, right?
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, did you want to touch a little bit on the hunters? Because we had talked about that a little. You have specific.
I can a little bit.
Okay.
So we primarily use one
Yeah.
community
Okay.
hunter who we trust his practices and know
Right.
that he's gotten,
Okay.
you know, and it's safely prepared and everything. So his name's Ernie. Hi, Ernie, if you're watching. Thank you.
But and then, you know, food safety comes into it, right? Because
That's
Absolutely.
it's
like
huge.
how it's hunted and also how it's
prepared
harvested and
and
prepared
prepared.
and all of that comes into it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So you have like a certain time before you need to get that moose out of
Yes.
the woods
Yes.
and, you know,
That's right.
hanging and stuff. And
Because you're feeding it to
Yeah,
people, and there's
yeah.
rules and regulations that would have to
Yes,
be
I
followed.
teach those.
Absolutely. Yeah,
those.
yeah, absolutely. So we're very keen on that, the safety side of things, absolutely. So
And even in our food bank too, like one of our good food rules is that when in doubt, throw it out.
Right.
So you know, if we'll do the fundraising in the back end in order to provide the good food, we resist the urge to get expired food
Right.
Right.
or
Right.
dented cans or
Yeah.
so.
But if someone
If
wanted
it's-
to donate to you, either whether it be financially or in food, can they do that?
Yeah, I think if you're out there and you want to support, reaching out to the
Yeah.
Facebook page is probably
Okay.
that's a good first step.
That's right.
And then, you know, a casual kind of donation, which we see all the time, is folks coming to eat a meal, and there's a quaint little donation box in the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not obvious, but drop in a $5 bill
Right.
there.
Right.
And we've run many meals where the food cost of the meal for the 30, 40 people is $60. And we brought in $60 in
Wow.
donations, right?
That's amazing.
So what are your goals then for this program? It sounds like it's fantastic. It's all up and running. So what's coming up?
What's next?
What's next? Big plans.
Yeah, so I think this new partnership with Community Food Centres Canada is a big
Okay.
one. So this gives us an awful lot of support on the back end. We're going to be hiring people, which allows Erica and I to get our heads out of the weeds a little bit and start doing kind of the stuff that we should be doing as program coordinators and managers. Yeah, I think there's no reason why there shouldn't be a system in Yale Ground with the community the size that it is and the assets it has. There shouldn't be hungry people.
Right.
No, exactly.
And
I
the
agree.
data shows us that in Yale Ground, the food insecurity rate's 40%.
Oh, wow.
That's compared to the city
Right.
of 12%.
Really?
So there's real policy
Exactly.
issues at play too, right?
Yeah.
And as a community food center, we see ourselves as an active member in advocacy, in pushing for policy changes. So other community food centers in Canada will run like get out the vote campaigns.
We want to thank you so much for
Good.
joining us today,
Yes.
and
See you
that's
next
all the
week.
time that we had. Exactly. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching us here at Have a Chat. See you later.